Hey, we can always come in and out, but public comment, let's do that, and let's get to a break before we go into business. So our public comment, we've got, as you know, the public comment can sign up to share public comments at publiccomment@schools.utah.gov. Public may send written public comments to the board@schools.utah.gov. Public comments are limited to 2 minutes per person. A comment could express support or dissent for regulatory action. Individuals should not use public comment to complain about personnel issues or attack or defame an individual. Speakers making a highly detailed or complex comment should also consider providing a written outline of their words to the board. Please remember that children may hear your comments. Be thoughtful and professional, and keep your comments appropriate for a general audience. If you have material with explicit language or content, submit that material in writing to the board@schools.utah.gov. So, with that, thank you, as always, for the input we get from our public. We do love to hear from you, either here or again at any of those other avenues that are open through written public comment to the board. So first, we have in person, I believe, Amy Warren.
Good morning, board members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this morning. My name is Amy Warren. I am the mother of 2 wonderful girls in the Utah school system and the Utah PTA resolution specialist. But today I am here as a resident of West Valley City and a constituent of Sarah Real. I would like to express my concerns for the Republican caucus holding closed-door meetings. These meetings are excluding 2 members of this board and the families in which they represent. It worries me that my students, along with those in my neighborhood, are going completely unrepresented in these meetings. As I have talked with others about these meetings, some have pointed out that, well, Democrats can caucus by picking up the phone. While this is true, I would challenge the Republican board members to think about the power that you have with such a great majority and the power that that gives them. As Spider-Man's Uncle Ben would say, with great power comes great responsibility. I am not going to spend my time challenging the legality of these closed-door meetings. I trust that as smart people, you did your research and that you are following the rules. But as I teach my 2 girls, just because something is technically legal and technically within the rules does not mean that it is the right thing to do. I understand that as our state legislator decided that the elections for this body should be partisan several years ago, and that's not something that you guys get to control. But you guys do get to choose how partisan you make your position. You can all choose to represent the children of Utah and their needs, rather they come from a Democrat household, a Republican household, or a nonpartisan household. It is your responsibility to do what is best for all children in Utah and not just those being raised in Republican homes. I hope that as things move forward, you are all able to work together for the best of all of Utah children, including working with our 2 Democrat representatives on this board. I would challenge you as you strategize to strategize with them, strategize as one team to do what is best for all of Utah's children and include all of those that have been elected to represent them. Thank you for your time and thank you for all the hard work that you do for our children here in Utah.
Thank you, Amy. Corey Fairholm, I believe in person. Yep.
Good morning. It's a privilege to stand before you today, and I want to thank you all for what you do for the children in the state of Utah. PTA is just not a name or an organization. It's a movement driven by the belief that every child, no matter what circumstances, deserves the opportunity to reach their full potential. Our mission is clear and powerful: to make every child's potential a reality by engaging and empowering families and communities that advocate for all children. The school and family partnership model and family engagement are the heart of this mission. When schools embrace inclusivity, valuing diverse perspectives, and ensuring every family feels welcome and respected, they create a foundation where every voice matters. When schools individualize their efforts, they meet the unique needs of each family and child, ensuring no one is left behind. When this work is integrated, aligning with educational goals and systems, it strengthens this overall mission. And when engagement is impactful, families are truly empowered to support their children's success. When we achieve these 4 I's, inclusive, individualized, integrated, and impactful, we create an environment where every child can thrive. Together as families, educators, and community members, we ensure that our schools are not just places of learning, but communities of belonging and success for all. Thank you for your dedication in this important work. Together, we can make a lasting difference. I want to give each one of you guys a gift from Utah PTA for the holidays. So thank you for your time and what you guys do. So here's a little bag that I will pass around.
Thank you, Corey. Sarah Erb.
Good morning, board members. Thanks for the time to present to you quickly today in public comment. I'm a parent of a student who is in 5th grade and a Braille reader. She's been successfully completing her RISE testing for the last, as long as they've been doing it, for her grade level. And it's been really exciting to see her be able to be competitive with her peers, as should be, as dictated by our meaningful inclusion from the State Board of Education for our students with disabilities. This is a right that all of our students have, and I am so grateful that my child goes to a school that believes in her capabilities regardless of any disability, and that they're able to hold her to the standard that is appropriate for all students across the state. As discussion has been happening over the last few months recently about services for students who are blind and visually impaired across the state of Utah, my questions have kind of been more toward, at what point do our board members start asking the question of, with USDB having 2 arms, those that service students at their own LEAs in their least restrictive environment, because most of the students who are blind and visually impaired are serviced in that setting, as compared to the deaf schools who are serviced at the school. A lot of students are serviced at the school for the deaf, especially as we're talking about building a new school for students who are deaf. At what point do our board members start asking the question of, it's time to separate the school for the blind from the school for the deaf because of that funding and the exorbitant cost of requesting services from the blind school as compared to giving local control to the schools who should be responsible for educating those students. So thanks so much for your time today, and enjoy the next 2 days. Thanks.
Thank you, Sarah. Stephen Seabury.
Oh, thanks for having me. So my name is Stephen Seabury.
Excuse me.
Yeah, no, it's my whole life it's been that way, so I'm good with it. So I'm actually coming as a parent and as a teacher. So I'm a parent of 2, soon to be 3 kids in the Utah public school system. And I also happen to be a high school history and government teacher at a school in Harriman, Utah. I wanted to just give some of my concerns and suggestions about the recent move to have partisan caucus meetings in the USBE. Now, I understand from the initial standpoint is that, well, y'all are looking for ways to have opportunities to have more free-flowing conversations. I teach government. I know what Robert's rules looks like, and that, yeah, it certainly can make some structures difficult to have conversations that are more nuanced. Also, having them streamed can create some kind of a pressure for y'all, hoping that your comments don't get taken out of context. I'm a teacher. I sometimes worry about what my students go home and say I did or did not say. However, in trying to find a solution, this may cause more problems than the solution warrants. By having a partisan caucus, now we're starting to move towards having policy shaped by ideology instead of pedagogy. And that can be a problem for teachers and especially for my kids. Madison and Washington themselves both argued that factions or political parties cause more problems than they help. They may help people coalesce and get together around specific ideas, but sometimes the ideology outweighs good policy. It's similar to like when I go to the doctor, I don't go to my doctor because they're Republican. I don't go to my dentist because they're a Democrat. I go because they're an expert and they have access to expertise and other information that I may not have. What I've seen in other states is when policy becomes more ideologically driven, it leads to outcomes that are poor for the teachers because teachers have to then teach standards based upon ideological pet projects, and that's Republican and Democrat, or it creates ideologically driven standards of how even history is taught, which I don't do. Even in my government class, I don't allow for my political leanings to be part of what I teach because it's bad pedagogy. Good pedagogy is allowing for exploration, allowing for critical thought and nuance. I think that the board should try to really focus on finding ways to have inclusive discussion amongst all board members and not just a certain group based upon ideological affiliation. And I know that's something that y'all have discussed and are trying to continue to work towards. And I would strongly encourage for board leadership to look at other ways to create work sessions or other options so you can have the conversations you need without having them be colored by more partisanship. Again, thank you for the work you've done, and thank you for giving me the time to speak today.
Thank you, Stefan, not Stephen. Sorry about that. All right, let's see. We have Professor Joel Campbell next. We've got you.
Yes, can you hear me
Welcome.
okay?
Yes, we got you.
Okay, dear board members, I only have 2 minutes, and that's kind of hard for a professor to take 2 minutes, but thank you for all that you do for education. I'm married to a school psychologist and father of 2 high school teachers. Because I don't have time to read everything I prepared, I refer you to this document I submitted last night. But first of all, I would just say that I am very concerned that having been part of the grandma formation many years ago and also been involved with negotiations about the Open Meetings Act on many occasions over the last 20 to 30 years, I can say that I am very concerned that if partisan groups begin meeting before decisions are made, that the quality of government decision-making and public participation will drop. Research in the UK has shown the benefits of openness and transparency. Refer to my document. More importantly, public trust is bound to decrease. Any show of partisanship that may hinder transparency is detrimental to good government and leads to speculation about backroom deals and favoritism. Democracy dies in darkness. Public transparency should trump partisanship. I've been working with Grandma on open meetings for 30 years. There's already carefully crafted tools, negotiated tools that are already in place for meetings. While the Public Meetings Act may allow caucuses, I believe the law was never meant to apply to other bodies outside the legislature. My research, I've been doing a lot of research on the law from the time it was created. It took 3 years, and this compromise was that the legislature would keep its party caucuses, but local and state bodies would be subject to the Sunshine Law. Unfortunately, the state school board appears to be the first to wander into this new territory. I respectfully submit that this is wrong-headed and counter to good government. And I just want to say, if you compare what you're doing with the legislature has opportunities for 2 hearings, for 3 readings on floor calendars. Also, so there's many opportunities for public input. I'm concerned that you will have a fait accompli. You'll discuss it in closed session, come out and approve something without the kind of checks and balances that are necessary in a constitutional government. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joel. Renee Pinkney.
Thank you, Chair Moss. Good morning, everyone. I'm Renee Pinkney, the UVA president, and I tuned in yesterday afternoon to the board officer elections, and I watched straight through and then had a meeting, got in my car, and put YouTube on so that I could continue listening. I always learn something very valuable. And I just wanted to congratulate the incoming chair, Matt Hymas, as well as first vice chair Molly Hart and second vice chair Leanne Wood. And I really appreciated the comments and discussion around having contention versus conflict. And that is something that I really appreciated, as well as the comments made about transparency and the really the importance of being transparent in developing trust. And so following the comments of the previous public speakers, I too have concerns about a caucus that is not transparent, and that does cause some concern for me. And I also wanted to thank those of you who are entering into leadership roles for being willing to take on those roles. And at UEA, we're looking forward to working with you. And I want to thank the outgoing leader for your time and effort and dedication to being on the leadership team for USBE. And I also wanted to wish all of you happy holidays, and I hope you get a lot of rest and relaxation and enjoyment with family and friends. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee. And Cindy Phillips in person, I think, is our last. Is that ever? Wrap it up? Okay.
Thank you, Chair Moss, for allowing me to speak. I'm Cindy Phillips. I'm representing the State Charter School Board today. I'm coming to the end of a 8-year, 2-term stint on the State Charter School Board. And when we first came on as a group, as a cohort, there was quite a bit of antagonism between the SCSB and the USBE. I want to thank members, just personally, at the USBE for the intentional effort that has been made during my time, at least, on the SCSB to become collaborators and productive partners in the public education sector. We really appreciate that, and I want you to know that. We were, about 7 years ago, some pressure was put on your board leadership and our board leadership to delineate our responsibilities more specifically and to have a better working relationship and to actually articulate that in some kind of an agreement. Generations of board leaders on your board and our board have worked very hard at trying to get that done. In fact, at one point, a legislative audit came out about 4 years ago that insisted that we respond with some kind of an agreement. It hasn't been easy. We've had to seek clarification from legislators in minor statutory changes. We've had to go back to legislators and ask what they meant by certain things. We have also had to work as, again, generations of leadership teams to try to articulate a very good working relationship that ensures that the USBE always has its authority and rights under the Utah State Constitution, and that we as a state charter school board are following our statutory obligations and authority underneath that. I want to thank you for the great efforts that you put in to do that and give the full support of the SCSB for the MOU that you have received. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cindy. Okay, that does conclude public comment, and that does bring us to a break. So let's take 7 minutes.